Yo, 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 what's up everybody? Thank you for stopping in to today's live stream. It's Cody, your Caped Crusader, and we're keeping it geekly. Yes, we're here with our good friend Daniel Kalban, and we're going to be breaking down his indie comic Kickstarter for Knightwrath issue number 1. How are you doing, Daniel? Thank you so much for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
We're going to be doing this live stream on Twitch, YouTube, as well as Facebook, doing all 3 platforms at once, so I'm really excited about it. This is going to be a really awesome breakdown. I've been waiting to do this interview for quite some time. Just the 90s aspect to it, the Venom the Spawn design, I love it. So Daniel, without further hesitation, let's go ahead and just dive right in.
Well, we have to go probably back nearly 12 years ago. It was December 2010. We got hit by a huge blizzard here in New York, and I'm bored out of my mind. It's winter break from college, and I'm like, I just came back into comics. I just rediscovered comicsology for the first time at that point. And I'm like, I found some of my old comics and whatnot. Like, I'd like to do like a Superman film. And I wrote a Superman film script. It's not that good. Followed up with a Batman film script, and I started writing fan fiction. That turned into fan comics, and then it turned fan comic scripts. And that turned into started writing my own stuff. Then a friend of mine said, "Do you want to write a book?" I'm like, "Sure." And we wrote a comic together. We got pulled into another a publisher who I later left, and that was really on time. The publisher was like, "Well, we're doing on this. Daniel, do you have anything else?" I'm like, "Let me see what I got in my various scripts." And I looked at the script for a script then called Modern Colossi, which was about a Jewish immigrant who gained superhero powers in the turn of the 20th century. And the guy said, "It's good, but I don't like the title." So that became American Dreams, which was my first published comic. Though at the time I was also doing a webcomic western, which unfortunately, something had to give, and I went with American Dreams over the western. And after that, I went from that publisher to another publisher. That publisher, unfortunately, has recently folded. It actually folded while I was setting up the Kickstarter for issue 4 and 5. Like, just as I was saying it, I was like, let's setting up that week, and then comes Saturday.
So, oh man, what happens when a publisher folds on you? Like, what do you do from that point?
Well, there was a temporary moment of panic. I'll be honest. And then I'm like, you know what? I was kind of itching towards doing my own thing for some other books. So I thought, this time it's going to be solely my thing. I'll self-publish. And so American Dreams officially became the first Atlas Studios comic. And so that Full First Arc was published fully under Atlas Studios last year. And then while I was in the midst of doing that, or at least even before that, I think it was 2020, and during the start of the pandemic, I saw this guy's art. I'm like, wow, this is really good. I want to do something with him. And this was Gabe Santos, known as Esquivel Art, online. And we started, saying we want to work together. And my idea was like, instead of like writing something and then giving it to the artist, let's find something we both want to create and go from there. And he says, "Oh, I like trying these big guys," and he showed me some examples, and we started going back and forth, and ultimately he drew this big hulking brute of a character in with purple body, red highlights. And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's call him Savage Knight." And I started writing in Marvel style format. The first script of my Marvel style format is like page on like a paragraph, and then that's the whole story. I did page 1, page 2, but I didn't do panel breakdown. I decided to give him a lot of creative freedom. And it was called Savage Knight at the time, and it was that for a good point. We started getting an inker at that point. And we went, the name's a little off. Let's call it Knightwrath. And that's how Knightwrath ultimately came to be.
All right, so I really dig this character design. I know there's a little bit of Spawn, a little bit of Venom in it, but ultimately, how did you guys come together and decide on where you wanted to go with the art?
That was all Gabe's idea. I was thinking more like his art style and taking my own kind of storytelling sensibilities and whatnot, and kind of hybridize them and mash them together to create Knightwrath. So you have that whole 90s feel, this anti-hero, this big hulking, kind of cool character, but just some pathos. There's a couple twists to this, so it's not like his civilian self, Joe, very unconfident, no self-esteem. Knightwrath, brash, bold, hyper aggressive.
So was Joe any sort of like a reflection on yourself growing up, or was there any sort of like influence from you or your life in general that you kind of just put into this story? I know that it seems like, you know, Joe was a little bit skittish with his human side of things, but with Knightwrath, he's able to embrace this new fury and this new anger and vengeance towards, you know, crime and just being the anti-hero of New York City. So what all went into that?
Well, in my lowest moments of life, I had like no confidence, no self-esteem, so that part of it came a bit from me. I thought to myself, you know, 90s style ideas or even more modern anti-heroes are like really brash, really confident, badass all the time. Let's do the other spin. Where even after his transformation, you know, as a civilian, he has no confidence. He thinks he's never going to get the girl across the hall. He thinks his life, he's always going to be at the bottom of the heap as a grunt in like a cubicle. Or if not even that, he might have lost his job, you know, because he was declared dead. He's living in a ramshackle apartment in a very run-down area of the west side of Manhattan. He's not that confident. You think he'd be very confident given his size, but no.
So yeah, I'm just really loving this character design, like his transformation, just how he looks as Knightwrath. Like, what went into that? Like, what direction did you give your artist to do this? I mean, it's just such an amazing design, honestly.
Oh, that was all him. That was all him.
Oh, really, dude? That's wild, man.
Yeah, basically. I think he did Knightwrath design in like one pass.
So what all goes into the protagonist transforming into Knightwrath? Like, how does that look?
There is a page later on in the first issue where you show it's kind of like this. The next time to submerge and drip and cover him, and kind of and like of course the last thing to cover is the face, obviously. So you see him like these tendrils building, covering everything, and then Knightwrath is there.
Yeah, all right, man. So what type of enemies and different types of villains is Knightwrath going to be looking like he's going to be going up against? You know, what type of scenarios and I guess crime fighting is this anti-hero going to ultimately be doing?
Well, first of all, he's going to deal with the crime on the west side, which in our take on New York is a lot of mobsters, gangs, random petty crime, muggers, as you can see in those preview pages when he goes into Times Square and proceeds to knock out of a mugger. But he's also running kind of opposite. He's also very opposite a police task force. So it's going to be eventually that's going to cause an issue. And then above it, even with that, there's the mercenaries that created him, who probably want him back or even upgrade themselves to take him on.
Are these issues going to be bloodier in the future? This first encounter with the mugger kind of looked like it was pretty gnarly.
Maybe. Game still needs to draw issue 2, but like we're talking like it's PG-13. It's going to be PG-13ish. It's not going to be like full R, you know, blood, guts, No, it's like I should dial that back a little bit. I mean, we're already dealing with some heavy issues when you find out what his love interest, his across the hall neighbor, does for a living. That's a little adult. She likes to call herself a unlicensed sex therapist. But she's interesting because she's very confident, she's very kind. But it's like he likes her. He likes her bad, but he's like he thinks he has no chance in hell. Yeah, he has no game. He has no game whatsoever. Like he can like save her from an unsatisfied patient, and she'll thank him, and even if she invites him in for a cup of coffee, he's like, maybe another time.
So, how long are you intending for this run to be? Like, how many issues are we looking at? Or, I mean, I guess overall, what's the overall roadmap looking like to be?
Well, the first arc is 3 issues. We want more, obviously, but we're trying to now focus on this first arc. We have ideas for future arcs already. Now to expand this world and connect it to a couple other projects I have in mind and may already have but we want to keep it relatively simple for our first arc because games like I want to do this for as long as I can, but it also depends on my schedule. So we decided to limit arc 1 to 3 issues. And issue 3 is going to be exercised to have a nice big giant fight.
And I'm assuming a lot of it just really falls on the time scheduling with everything and just how everything is at the time when you go to do issue number 2.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it depends on the schedule, depends on the inker, depends on it depends on everyone's. It depends on the inker, it depends on the team, depends on the money situation, obviously. It depends on, factors here and there. But, like, the full first act's already written. It's ready to go. It just gave me some time to actually start drawing it.
Okay, so yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead, if you want to, let's break down your tiers and just take a look at the Kickstarter and just check out your campaign and break it down for our viewers.
So here's Knightwrath. This is actually an image from our B cover by Fritz Cassis.
So yeah, first and foremost, congratulations on almost doubling your goal as fast as you did. When exactly did you hit your goal? And how did that feel? I mean, it has to be such an awesome feeling to hit it so fast. So yeah, how was that for you?
We started last Tuesday, the 15th, my birthday. We were funded by Friday. I was literally in my office talking to one of my coworkers. I'm like, I just need $25 and I will have made goal. And it's just the fact that it was, and he's like, he goes to back it on his phone. He's like, dude, you already made it. I'm like, what? My screen work had not updated at that point. So I had to reload it. And I joked to him, I said, I can stress less while hyperventilating.
Okay, so that should cover pretty much everything from start to finish with your project, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's going to cover the remainder of Gabe's fees. It's going to cover, because we were ready to tell the money goes to Gabe for some owed work. Oh, 1 second. It's going to cover the printing. It's going to cover the making the other rewards, and it's going to cover a couple other extraneous costs that go with the production and everything.
Yeah, man, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, and we're less than $200 to our third stretch goal, which right now is our final stretch goal. But I'm looking at a couple additional stretch goal options.
So yeah, you probably wasn't prepared to hit this goal this fast, I would imagine.
Oh no, not at all, because my last Kickstarter for American Dreams 4 and 5, we didn't get funded till towards the beginning of the last week. So I only had $7,500 because I thought it's probably gonna take a couple weeks to get to goal. I'm not gonna do anything too crazy. And then all of a sudden, by Friday, it's like, okay, this is good. So this is our mock-up of cover A.
Yeah, and I think this is the one that I actually pledged for. I really enjoyed just how detailed this cover is.
Yeah, the pencils are done by Gabe. The inks are by our inker, David Rivera. And the colors were done for us by Chris Sotomayor, who's a major colorist. He's not the interior colorist, that's Daniel ERM. And here's our original concept art for Knightwrath.
So that was the original design that Gabe sent you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I definitely just can't get over how awesome it is. It really blew my mind when I first seen it.
And here's poor Joe in for the worst night of his life, as you can see.
So does that scientist there become like a reoccurring character in this series? It just seems like there's a lot of emphasis on him.
He's the chief scientist of the Mercs. He'll be back as a reoccurring baddie in issues 2 and 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because when I was first checking out your Kickstarter and I seen his design, it just looked like there was a lot of emphasis on him and just a lot of potential for him to be a villain.
Well, yeah, because he's the kind of the mad scientist behind it all. And here's our first page. Oh, no, though it's misspelled. It's Sable Frames. It's actually a reference to my great-grandparents who actually ran a frame factory.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, my great-great-grandparents.
That's really cool. That had to make you feel really awesome to see that put into your book.
Yeah, I put it in, and then I find out after everything's been inked and drawn, I misspelled Sable. It's L, not L-E. It still works.
Yeah, man, it's really cool to be able to throw pieces of your family history into your book. How did that actually go about happening? Did you ask Gabe to do that for you?
It's fun, actually. Gabe, I think Gabe was the one who said, do you want to put anything on the storefronts? And I'm like, let me think. And I said, I had ancestors who ran this frame company. Can we reference them in one of the storefronts? He's like, yeah, sure. And Mugger's in an alley. And I'm ready to hop down to stop the mugger.
So this looks really detailed. What type of description did you give to Gabe in order for him to draw this scene? I mean, it just looks like it's really well put together.
I said the page description was it's the establishing shot of time of like somewhere on the west side of New York. A mugger is intimidating a family, and Knightwrath leaps down to stop him. And then I said I think page 2 is like Knightwrath just kicks the crap out of him, and then he's told stop monster by the family.
Yeah, and he's just looking like really like just brutal and gruesome at this point. I mean, I can only imagine what that mugger feels.
Yeah, he's like he has this big moment of bravado, and then he's like I'm nothing. I have a lot of rewards. Actually, a couple of rewards not mentioned here. I'll mention after we get through them. But here's our A cover, which I mentioned earlier. First cast did this one with Tommy Shelton, yeah, who's actually my usual cover colorist doing this cover. So
was it hard to get another artist to draw this character in a similar fashion? I mean, the character seems unique.
Well, Gabe suggested Fritz, and so we got him, and we were debating a couple colorists, and Tommy, who's been a friend of mine since we started doing the colors for covers on American Dreams, he says, "Do you have any work for me?" I was like, "Yeah, I have this, B cover for Knightwrath." And he's like, "Yo." So
what are the purple vapors coming off of them? Those are just really like insane looking.
It's kind of like this eldritch energy, I would say.
Yeah, that is just gorgeous.
And then we had Netho Diaz, he did the main cover for American Dreams #1. He's done all the variant Sids for American Dreams 2 through 5. And so I had to get another cover from him. And his wife did the colors on this one. His wife, Theasa, did the colors on this one. We're just breaking through the wall.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm loving these covers left and right. This is so awesome.
Yeah. So you can get all 3 in a bundle, too. We also have some limited commissions. I think we have like 1 left. It's not going to be as detailed as this. It's just like an example I had on hand of Liberty from American Dreams. We have, you can get it digitally, $5. You get a digital copy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the early bird price for the physical copy, so that no longer applies. Sorry, guys. You get the first issue of Knightwrath and the first issue of American Dreams digitally for a little sampler, $10 sample. To get the A cover for $10, the B cover for $20.
Mm-hmm.
It's variant covers for $20 as well. You can also get the issue #1 issue bundle physically. $25 for the B cover. We do have a retailer package for retailers out there. So if you guys want something to sell in your shop. For the bundle, we have the cover bundle.
Hey, what's up, Gage the Wolf? We have Gage the Wolf on Facebook saying this comic looks amazing. Yeah, Gage, I figured this would be right up your alleyway as well. Yeah, this is very brutal. I'm loving these tiers too. And if
you have 2 tiers that are not mentioned on here because I put them in after we launched.
Okay.
I'll scroll over here for this. So we also have for $30 what I call the Dreams and Nightmares package, where you get Knightwrath 1 digitally and all 5 issues of American Dreams digitally.
Okay.
And then for $60, you get them physically and you get the digital copies gratis anyways.
No, yeah, dude, these tiers are so awesome. So, American Dream, what all went into American Dream? I know we haven't really had a chance to break that one down too much. So...
you want me to close this stream in the meantime?
Yeah. We could just start breaking that down too.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
American Dream, so it's really fun. I was listening to the soundtrack of a musical called Ragtime, which is about several stories taking place in 1906.
Mm-hmm.
It's based off a book by Dr. O. And I'm like in a half daze at this point, like kind of napping. And I'm like, wonder if there was an actual superhero comic set in that era, because love comics just started in the 30s during the Great Depression, not, pre-World War I.
Yeah.
And then that's when the light bulb moment hit. And I'm like, okay, let's see what we're gonna do. And I'm like, being Jewish and from New York, I said the main character has to be a Jewish New Yorker, an immigrant, because this was first written the first draft was written in 2015, 2016 election. So at the time was very timely, and I started writing it with the focal point of the main character being a Jewish immigrant, looking at various aspects of our time by holding a mirror up to it for the Gilded Age, bringing in some of my favorite historical figures like Harry Houdini, Thomas Edison, J.P. Morgan, Emma Goldman, Aleister Crowley, who's the series' big baddie, and a lot of other fun stuff. And at the same time, I was also going for different stories during the time period. So it was this past week was the 111th anniversary of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, which was until 9/11 one of the biggest disasters in New York City. It was the biggest loss of life in a single incident until 9/11, to give you an idea.
Yeah.
How big this was, and a lot of victims were immigrants. So I did a similar situation in issue 2, where the sweatshop where Jake works, our main character who becomes Liberty, suffers a similar incident, granted several years before the actual Triangle Shirtwaist fire happened. To give you an idea of how bad conditions were for immigrants, who were often preyed upon by people whose families were also immigrants, but because they were now the citizens, they looked down on the new waves of immigrants coming in to that level. And so it becomes this whole nice look at various things that we still discuss today, but you give a nice super heroic adventure story as well.
So how did that feel, being able to put a part of your heritage and stuff into a book, into a comic, being able to put some of the pain that your ancestors felt onto pages?
It was pretty good because it was nice to do, because it's not a lot of probably Jewish superhero books out there. There may be Jewish superhero characters, but they're either not that prominent, or they're members of a group like the Thing from the Fantastic Four, who was actually the first superhero I actually heard was Jewish. And I found this out in a Reformed Judaism magazine back when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Of all sources. Moon Knight's Jewish, but Marvel doesn't seem to be a good job of representing that in the upcoming series. So
yeah.
You saw my post. I've been venting about this for months. And then you have Magneto, who's a Holocaust survivor. But again, then we have Kitty Pryde and the X-Men. But again, these are more ensemble characters. They're not really with rare exceptions, not being characters in their own solo title. I think Magneto's recent solo from a few years ago did touch on his heritage.
So, obviously. What type of adventure do we see happen within your comic? This comic. What happens to the protagonist? You said you had 5 issues with all of them being included into a volume 1. Do you have any more plans for issues outside of that?
Issue 6 is drawn. It still has to be colored and lettered and get a cover. I'm working on issue 7 because right now I'm kind of a bit of writer's block, because it's more of a decision I have to make. Either I can do this nice little framing device with Nikola Tesla, Harry Houdini, and Teddy Roosevelt, who at this point was the governor of New York, and potentially slow down the story, maybe slightly too much, or I can forgo the plot, that framing device altogether, and just have a big blast in issue 7, because issue 6 ended on a cliffhanger.
Okay. So
because that has to be released in next year, so I'm not going to go. But that issue's also introduced some new characters. It's going to show the Asian American and African American experiences around that same time period. So we're bringing an African American character and an Asian American character. We're bringing in Teddy Roosevelt as a new supporting character, because he was governor of New York. He's also a member of what I'm calling the Order of Thoth. It's
what type of villains does he encounter? Where do we see him go within his trials and tribulations?
Well, usually he's going in the first volume. He's going up mainly against the disciples of Aleister Crowley, namely 2 henchmen named Shocky and Knife Hands. And so their nicknames are in the script. I don't think I actually given them real names yet.
Yeah.
He's also going up against members of other ethnic gangs during the time period, because almost every ethnicity had gangs, and they were fighting over what little territory they could in New York.
You know, that kind of gives me. Have you ever watched Gangs in New York?
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna say
It's even like 40 years later. Like,
yeah, I was like, that's giving me pretty big gang, like that, like just like however you like Providence has its own gang and it's fighting for territory. That's I instantly was thinking of the huge throwdown.
There is a nod to it in issue 2 where we actually go into 5 points.
That is so awesome. Yeah, dude.
But we're a little more Lower East Side and Manhattan, you know, below 42nd Street all the way down to the tip of Manhattan. We have Aleister Crowley being the kind of big spider in the web, everything. We have Thomas Edison and J.P. Morgan basically being, you know, the establishment. You know, rich people just basically putting their thumbs down on everything.
Oh, man.
To, you know, hurt things. We have racist sweatshop owners. And then we have Amalek, who's our big bruiser for issues 4 and 5, who's a German gang leader who gets souped up by Aleister Crowley's magic, and wants to create some havoc in the Lower East Side because of his anti-Semitism. So,
how, like, did you put a lot of like your life experiences into this book? It seemed like a lot of it just is hitting home.
It's maybe a slight bits of it, but it's mainly an original story. I don't really put that much. Like, my family's from Brooklyn, so we're not from Manhattan. We're from Brooklyn. So
no, I gotcha.
I did think of a joke of them taking me later on, moving to Brooklyn and jokingly calling it the Promised Land. Because in 1900, Brooklyn had just become a borough of New York City until like 2 years prior, it was its own city. And then it joined up with Manhattan and the other 3 boroughs because we were literally dying of thirst. We had no working water supply.
Whoa. Yeah, that's something you really don't hear about.
And then this nice water supply in upstate New York, so we're like, okay, we'll have to join.
Yeah.
And then they talk about in the poem by Emma Lazarus about the Statue of Liberty, and she talks about the 2 cities framing the harbor. Brooklyn's one of them. New York City was the other. At the time, that was only Manhattan.
No, that's cool.
And then 1898 rolls along, and Queens County, Kings County, Staten Island, the Bronx, and Manhattan become New York City. So
this is the one where you had a publisher flop on you too. So how hard was it like continuing through? And I know you said you self-published. What drove you away from self-publishing again? Like, is this something that you're going to be doing with Knightwrath, or are you going down a different path?
Right now we're going to self-publish, but who knows what happens later on. I could, you know, work with a publisher to get my self-published books out to a wider audience, but that's, you know, plans for the future.
Yeah, so a publisher just basically helps you get the reach. Like, it's not really life or death to help you actually get the book printed or anything.
Right, because at the time I wanted the publisher for more of a structural kind of support and distribution, because they had an online store and I didn't. So now I have to run everything.
Yeah,
that's why my online store is now mainly the digital comics. I'm still trying to figure out, do I have enough stock left over from conventions to sell the physical comics?
Yeah. So would you say with your new book, it's a lot easier coming off having 5 issues under your belt, like just in terms of staying organized yourself and doing it all yourself this time around?
Yeah, I also have a great support system. Kat Calamia, who's also a great indie creator, helped me develop the Kickstarter this time around. Laurie Foster, who's a great publisher at Unlikely Hero Studios, is helping me fulfill the books. I have friends helping me with the design work on the books and some of the rewards, so it's easier. Plus, they pointed at me, they're like, oh, you can use this company for manufacture this, and you can use this company to print that. Okay. And I'm looking at different printers and everything. Like, I'm going to use Comic Impressions again for this book, which is a great printing company down in Florida. So I'm still looking for who's going to print the collected trade volume of American Dreams. I'm looking at like Mixum. It's a possible source because they do both softcover and hardcover.
So with everything that we broke down and discussed, what would you like to tell anyone who's been like watching your campaign, but they're still on the fence about backing it? What would you like to say to them to kind of help push them like over the edge and help encourage them to back your campaign?
If you really want to have like a fun twist on like your classic 90s anti-hero story with a lot of action and a lot of pathos, this is the book for you. It's a lot of fun to make. It's a lot of fun for you guys to read. And it's really full of action-packed storylines, and it gives us a nice little spin on the classic, you know, anti-hero tale.
Yeah, it It looks like it's right up my alleyway. You know, fans of Venoms, fans of Spawn, like I think they're gonna definitely eat this up. It just has that dark, you know, just fierce look to it. Definitely not someone I would want to meet in like a dark alleyway if I was on the wrong side of the law.
It's like the great line. I forget who said it. Like, I don't want to meet them in a dark alley. I don't want to meet them in a light alley either.
Yeah. So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast, and I always love asking indie comic creators this one question in particular, and that is if there's someone who's out there who is kind of struggling to get their idea off the ground or just start a comic in particular of anything, what advice would you give them to kind of help them start their book and just like start taking off with their passion?
I'm going to take a book out of something I heard on Jim Lee's Twitch stream. Which, because I watch his streams pretty regularly, I'm a member of his Discord and Twitch community. Mm-hmm. And someone asked him this a while back, like probably in the first year or so of his streams. And he said, you just have to do it. What he did was just draw. Well, I'm saying you just have to do it. You can't just sit down, like twiddling your thumb saying, oh, I just want to do it. You can do it! It's easy to write, to connect with artists. You can connect with artists online. You can connect with a whole bunch of resources to get together. You could consult, like Kat Calamia, if you want to need help with Kickstarter. She does it. In addition to being an awesome creator, she's running a Kickstarter consulting service, which you guys should really use if you want some extra help in getting out there. And there's all these online help guides and services and suggestions that could really help your journey. Jim Zub, who's a great comic writer, I think at Marvel, an independent comic book writer, has a huge resource on his own website of just if you don't know how to write a comic book script, and trust me, there's no real one format. There's archives out there of comic scripts to give you an idea of how to write them, so on, so forth. Yeah,
it definitely. I mean, and you can back it all up. Your campaign, you were able to smash it fast. Your campaign's almost doubled the goal already, and you still have what, 18 days left?
Like, I should know this off the top of my head. Yes, 18 days.
So I mean, you're looking. I mean, you're probably projected to triple it at this rate. The first of the last weeks are some of the most busiest for Kickstarters.
Yeah, but the first day, it's like I was doing maybe like $1,000 or something. I think that my first day with American 4 and 5 was like $1,000 plus. Then I saw it go whoop. I'm like, whoa. And it's like, it's really the first few days and then the last few days. It's that doldrums in between where it's going to drive you nuts. And when I had American Dreams 4 and 5, when we were moving very slowly towards the goal, this was basically me the entire time.
Yeah,
and
dude.
I was the frick out. I was actually, my friends were like, Daniel, calm down. You're stressing us out.
Hey, well, once again, big congratulations on it. It's always awesome to see people kill their goals. Hold on one second. There's my little one trying to see you kill the goal as well.
Yeah. And it's really great. We are really close to getting to our third stretch goal. And I'm working on a couple new stretch goals so we can get further on.
So, did you get a chance to break those stretch goals down, like as in depth as you wanted?
No, I didn't. So our first two stretch goals, we have an indie comic book digital bundle with a lot of comics from my friends that I've come together, and they have given permission for me to give you guys a small bundle of their books digitally. The second stretch goal, which we hit already. It's going to be a PDF of the script of issue 1. The stretch goal for issue for 3, which is our $7,500 level, you guys are going to print an issue 1's cover of the A cover. And I'm looking at maybe doing for future stretch goals, if you get higher and higher, bookmarks and stickers.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm a sucker for stickers, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, so I got a friend, my production design manager, who's also my editor on a couple other projects, looking into helping me design those for later. No, we have to hit those two stretch goals in order for you guys to get it. So.
No, that is so awesome. Well, hey, I want to take a big moment and just say thank you for coming on. I know we had this planned out and then had a little mishap, and then we just stuck it through. So very excited to get you on the show tonight. I've been really wanting to talk about this. So big thank you to Daniel for stopping by and breaking down not only his Kickstarter but American Dreams as well.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope as soon as this is funded, I backed it myself, so I'll be getting on and hopefully giving you guys a nice little review and breakdown of the comic when we get our hands on it. So any ideas when you're going to be rocking issue number 2?
No idea yet.
Not yet. To be determined.
That's my last question. That's my last answer. Gabe is trying to find out a whole schedule to start. That's that's true. We were discussing this on Sunday when we were doing our live stream. Next up will be American Dreams Volume 1. That's for certain.
Yeah.
A couple other things in the work, including Greasers vs. Aliens, which is a 1950s set sci-fi tale, which I'm calling American Graffiti meets Mars Attacks.
That is awesome. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that.
And all of these are going to be exercised, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Hey, well, hopefully we can get you on to talk about those too. Like, I'm always excited to talk about anything indie comic related. So, with that being said, guys, we appreciate you coming to today's first official live stream on Facebook and Twitch. I hope to do these indie comic interviews on all 3 platforms from this point forward. So, with that being said, guys, thank you for stopping by. And most importantly, keep it geekly.
Night, guys.